Recording in progress.
Give me one more second, then we'll get started here. Thank you. All right, I'll continue to allow this, and then we will send out the recording after. So if I did miss anybody, Michael will send the link out to everybody after the fact. But thanks for joining us today on short notice. But we'll introduce you to Dr. Kevin Foster, the director of the Arizona Burn Center at Valleywise Health, to brief us on the accident and the patients, and then we'll take questions afterward.
Okay, ready to go?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Foster. I am the director of the Burn Center, Arizona Burn Center, Valleywise Health. And we've taken care of 4 patients from this accident this morning. The notification that we received this morning was that there had been an explosion at a building, and we were getting multiple victims from that. As best as we can figure out right now, this was a propane explosion, but we don't know. We don't have a lot of good information. Our burn and trauma teams were outside, and we met the ambulances as they came in. We determined that the patients did not require decontamination. They all received trauma and burn workups, and all 4 of them are now in the burn center. They're all young males, and all of them suffered between 16 and 30% total body surface area burns, mostly to the upper extremities and lower extremities, the exposed areas. It looks like most everybody was wearing short sleeve shirts and shorts. Nobody suffered a traumatic injury. 2 of the patients are in the ICU and are considered critical, but they're expected to survive and do fine. 2 of the patients are not in the ICU, and they are considered seriously injured right now. We've completed all of our workups. We've had to do some surgeries on a couple of them early on. All of them will eventually require surgery and skin grafting. But as I said, everybody is reasonably stable right now, and our expectation is full recovery for everybody. That's the general statement I have, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from anybody?
Yeah, hi, Dr. Foster. It's Carissa with 3TV and CBS 5.
Hey.
Can you describe the nature of the injuries, and are we talking about like a 3rd-degree burn? How much of their bodies suffered burns?
Right. So these burns all appear to be flash burns, propane flash burns. Propane explodes, or something exploded, and there was a big flash. And the burns on most of these patients are what we would consider to be 2nd-degree burns, and they're sort of indeterminate 2nd-degree burns. Whether or not they're going to heal or ultimately require skin grafting is largely unknown right now. We'll have to see how they evolve. But on most of the patients, there are deeper areas that we're pretty sure are going to require surgery, and our expectation is that the burns are going to get a little bit deeper as time goes on, which is pretty typical for a burn injury. As I said, the extent of the burns it varies between 16 and 30% across all four individuals. And it's mostly the arms and hands and thighs and legs, exposed areas in people who would be wearing shorts and short-sleeved shirts. And a couple of them have relatively superficial burns to the face. Nobody has deep face burns.
I have a follow-up question. Knowing what we know at this point about the explosion, were these individuals just incredibly fortunate, incredibly lucky to survive?
I think so. I mean, I'm not an expert in explosions or that sort of thing, but I've seen some photographs of the building. I don't know what it looked like beforehand, but it's not a building anymore. It's just a hole in the ground. And the fact that anybody walked away from that is really amazing to me. So yeah, I think that that they are really fortunate. And in fact, not only did they survive this, but their injuries after something like that are, I think, relatively minor. Don't get me wrong; these are serious injuries, and they're all going to be hospitalized for a while, and all of them are going to eventually find themselves in surgery, and they're going to have prolonged recoveries. But it's not like they suffered, devastating 90% total body surface area burns, or, we weren't expecting them to live. They should all do fine. So yeah, it's really baffling that this explosion was of this magnitude, and the injuries were not worse than they are.
Any other questions for Dr. Foster today?
Dr. Foster, this is Alejandro with Univision.
Hi, Alejandro.
Hi. My question is, two of the patients you mentioned are in the ICU, but are expected to recover, and two are out. Now, as far as their state of, are they conscious? Are they, and the two that are in the ICU, are they conscious, and are they only there because of the burns and how severe they are?
Yeah, both of them are there because of the burns and because of the extent and the depth of the burns. And when we first get burn patients in, we really have to cleanse and debride the areas that are injured to see how extensive it is and how deep they are. And that's a really painful, terrible process. And when all four extremities are involved, it's a big deal. So the intubation and in the ICU is largely prophylactic to help us get them settled in, get their wounds taken care of. One of them actually required what we call escharotomies, where we had to cut through the burn scar to relieve the pressure. And that's done a lot more easily with the patients intubated and sedated. We don't think that anybody here has suffered an inhalation injury or a lung injury from anything, although it's possible, but we don't think so. And we're anticipating that we should be able to get these two people extubated and out of the ICU fairly quickly.
Thank you very much. That was it.
Yes, sir.
One final question before we let Dr. Foster go back to work.
Hi, Dr. Foster. This is Nicole Garcia with Fox 10.
Hi, Nicole.
So you had mentioned earlier that the burns were consistent with some type of propane explosion or gas explosion. In your experience, what could have caused the fire explosion?
Yeah, I have no clue what actually happened, and I'm only telling you what limited information that we have and that we were presented with from pre-hospital people and the firefighters and people at the scene, and the patients themselves. I don't think anybody really knows exactly what happened, but the injuries are certainly consistent with a flash, with something that exploded and burned very quickly and was very, very hot for a very short period of time. So, like I said, I don't know that for sure, but right now that is our operating hypothesis, that this was a propane flash or some other type of volatile flash.
Okay, and so just to clarify, a flash versus not like a flame, right?
Yeah, not like a flame. And so this was something big happened, obviously, to burn this many people, and obviously to cause the damage that it did. But like I said, I don't know for sure what happened.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Foster. Thank you all for attending today. And again, we will send out the recording to this should anybody have had issues recording. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.